You can solve complex problems at work, analyze data with precision, and make logical decisions in most areas of your life. So why did you just spend money you don't have on something you don't really need? Why does your bank account seem to contradict your intelligence? If you've ever felt this disconnect between your rational mind and your financial behavior, you're experiencing something that has nothing to do with your IQ and everything to do with how your brain evolved to survive. Your financial struggles aren't a character flaw. They're not evidence that you lack willpower or discipline. They're the result of an ancient operating system running inside your modern skull, making decisions based on a world that no longer exists. Today, we're going to explore why intelligent people often make seemingly irrational financial choices, what's really happening in your brain when you spend impulsively, and how you can work with your primitive instincts instead of fighting against them. Let's start with something that might surprise you. That urge to buy something when you're stressed or anxious? Your brain thinks it's keeping you alive. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived with genuine scarcity. Food was uncertain, shelter was temporary, resources were limited, and hoarding whatever you could find meant the difference between survival and death. Your brain still carries this ancient programming. When you see a sale, when you feel financial pressure, when you worry about the future, your limbic system doesn't understand that you live in an age of abundance. It interprets any concern about resources as a life or death emergency. This is why you can be completely rational about a business decision at work, but find yourself buying things you don't need when you're feeling emotionally vulnerable. Your primitive brain has hijacked your decision-making process, flooding your system with stress hormones and triggering behaviors that once ensured survival, but now sabotage your financial well-being. Here's what's actually happening in your brain when you make an impulsive purchase. The moment you see something you want, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. This isn't about the item itself. It's about the anticipation of having it, the promise of feeling different, better, more secure. At the same time, if you're feeling stressed, anxious, or emotionally depleted, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decision-making, goes offline. Your limbic system takes over, operating from pure emotion and instinct. Think about the last time you bought something you later regretted. You probably weren't thinking about your budget, your financial goals, or even whether you really needed the item. You were feeling something: anxiety, excitement, loneliness, boredom, and your brain offered you a simple solution. Buy this, and you'll feel better. The cruel irony is that your rational mind immediately steps in after the purchase to create elaborate justifications. I needed this for work. It was such a good deal. I deserve nice things. Your conscious mind becomes a storyteller, weaving logical-sounding reasons around decisions your emotional brain already made. This isn't stupidity. It's how human brains work. The emotional brain decides, and the rational brain explains. Understanding this can free you from the shame and self-judgment that often make financial stress even worse. Programma Enderbation torsified. Atra Talon and Dagad.obey. But here's where it gets more complex. Your spending patterns aren't just about individual purchases. They're often about deeper emotional needs that money can never actually fulfill. Maybe you spend when you feel invisible, hoping that new clothes or gadgets will make you feel more confident or worthy of attention. Maybe you buy things when you feel out of control, using purchasing power as a way to feel agency in your life. Maybe you shop when you're lonely, seeking the brief connection that comes from customer service interactions, or the temporary comfort of acquiring something new. None of these emotional needs are wrong, but money is a terrible solution for them. It's like trying to fix thirst by eating more food. You might feel temporarily satisfied, but the underlying need remains unmet. Kalama, this brings us to something the ancient Stoics understood about human nature. They recognized that our suffering often comes from living too much in an imaginary future or past, losing touch with what's actually happening right now. There's a Stoic practice called memento mori, remembering death, but I want to adapt it for your financial life. Instead of thinking about mortality, I want you to think about your future self. When you feel the urge to make an impulsive purchase, pause and ask yourself this question. Will the person I am 5 years from now thank me for this decision? Picture yourself in the future, looking back at this moment. What would that wiser, more experienced version of yourself want you to choose? This isn't about scaring yourself out of spending. It's about connecting your present moment emotions with your long-term well-being. Your primitive brain lives in the immediate now, but your human consciousness can travel through time, learning from the past, and planning for the future. Most financial advice tells you to create a budget and stick to it, but that approach ignores the emotional reality of why you spend money in the first place. Instead, I want you to try something different. For the next 30 days, I want you to create what I call an emotional budget. Every time you feel the urge to spend money impulsively before you buy anything, write down 3 things. First, what emotion are you feeling right now? Are you stressed, bored, excited, anxious, lonely, or something else? Second, what do you hope this purchase will do for that emotion? What feeling are you trying to create or escape? Third, what happened in the last few hours or days that might have triggered this emotional state? Don't judge what you discover. You're not trying to stop yourself from feeling emotions. You're simply becoming aware of the connection between your inner world and your spending patterns. After 30 days, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe you spend when you're tired. Maybe you shop when you feel undervalued at work. Maybe you buy things when you're comparing yourself to others on social media. Once you can see these patterns clearly, you can start addressing the real needs underneath your spending impulses. Here's the second technique I want you to practice. When you identify the emotion behind your urge to spend, ask yourself, what would actually meet this need? If you're lonely, maybe you need to call a friend or spend time in a community space. If you're stressed, maybe you need rest, movement, or a few minutes of quiet breathing. If you feel powerless, maybe you need to take action on something you can actually control. This doesn't mean you can never buy anything again. It means you're learning to distinguish between purchases that align with your values and goals and purchases that are just emotional reactions in disguise. Remember, your brain's financial operating system was designed for a world of scarcity, not abundance. Your impulses made sense when resources were genuinely limited and the future was uncertain. But now, in a world where you can buy almost anything instantly, these same impulses can trap you in cycles of spending and regret. The goal isn't to become emotionless about money. Emotions contain valuable information about what matters to you. The goal is to create space between feeling and action, between impulse and decision. As Seneca wrote, "Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks the truth turns from the new to the eternal." Your happiness doesn't come from accumulating more things. It comes from aligning your choices with what actually brings lasting satisfaction. Your intelligence isn't the problem. Your ancient brain isn't the enemy. They're both trying to take care of you in the only ways they know how. But you can learn to be the conscious director of your financial life, making choices from wisdom rather than instinct, from clarity rather than emotion. The next time you feel that familiar urge to buy something, remember that you're not broken or weak. You're human, carrying ancient wisdom that no longer serves your modern life. But you have something your ancestors didn't have: the awareness to choose differently. What emotional patterns have you noticed in your own spending? What feelings drive your financial decisions? Share your insights in the comments below. Sometimes naming our patterns is the first step toward changing them.